it's that time of year you're going to see lots of little tiny apples falling off your tree. Don't worry, it's a thing, it's the time of year, but I'm going to use this to teach you about one tiny job you can do that's going to make the apples you harvest at the end of the year way bigger and better. Okay then, first things first. This is a totally natural thing your trees are doing. You haven't done anything wrong, okay? There's nothing you've done that's causing your tree to drop these. It's something called June drop, okay? Now, I'll get to the name in a second because that's important. But basically your tree is dropping all of the small, maybe badly pollinated, not great apples, because it's doing a bit of self-preservation. It's keeping the good stuff so that it can grow on. Because remember, the purpose of the tree is to make apples with pips, to disperse, to create new trees, okay? So that's why it's doing this. It's getting rid of the stuff that's not going to be in its best interest. But what we're doing is we're going to use that as our tip for when we need to do a little bit of our own pruning or thinning of the apples. And it is super simple and it goes like this. June drop actually happens about 6 to 8 weeks after the apple tree blossoms, okay? So it may not actually happen in June. It's all about the temperatures, the weather and timing, that kind of thing. So it might actually be different. Here in Scotland, and especially as you go further north, it actually happens later than it does way down south, okay? So June drop is just a relative name to give us an idea of what's going on. Now, as I said, it's the plant actually looking out for itself. It's dropping any of the stuff it thinks isn't good enough and keeping the good stuff. But here's a top tip then. Let your plant drop, okay? And once you're getting to the end of that and you're seeing that it's either not dropping apples anymore or it's dropping very few, this is the time where we're actually going to come in and we're going to select the apples we want it to keep from the ones that are left. So this is a job called thinning your apples, because you're actually thinning out the amount that are on the tree. But we've let the plant do the heavy lifting and it's self-selected all the rubbish ones and dropped them. Now we're going to go in and be super selective, and I'm going to have to get you in close so you can see this, because my bed with my apple trees is also full of flowers at the minute and it's not easy to see from a distance. So come on. Always have a really good look at the whole tree before you start any work. And we're looking out to see where the apples are, and we're looking to see how many are in each little cluster, each little group, okay? So I can see I've got a bit down here. Oh, there's only one left now here. I've got some clusters at the back with 3 and 4. I've got this one here that's got 3. So that's the first thing you're looking for. You're looking for the clusters to see how many fruits on them. Because instantly I'm going to tell you now, we're going to be reducing that, okay? Now, I totally get it, okay? This is going to be mad to some of you. I'm telling you to take apples off your tree when your whole purpose of growing them and all the things I've had you do up to now has been to get as much fruit on there as possible. But this is about getting the biggest, best. If you leave a cluster with too many apples, all of those apples are going to be smaller because the tree's got a finite amount of energy to put into production, okay? So less fruit equals bigger, better fruit, and that's why we're doing this. So the next bit then, we're going to look at all of this and we're going to say, size-wise, the first thing to go is going to be the smallest fruit, okay? Because the chances are they'll never get to their full size if there are other bigger fruit there that are way ahead of them. So we're going to go with the bigger ones, okay? So look at your clusters. And we're going to take out the smallest ones in those clusters, okay? So we start with that now. What you might find is if you lift it up and twist, it will come away, okay? Quite often it comes away really easily. If it doesn't, just get your secateurs and give it a wee snip at the stem. So that's part one. You're going to take off all the really small ones and leave the biggest. The next thing you're looking for is anything that looks like it might be damaged, diseased, just deformed in any way. So again, you're taking those out. You just want to leave the biggest and the best. I'm going to have to get a step to get up to the ones up there. Any that are weirdly shaped, blemished, maybe they've got marks on them from insects burrowing in, damage, anything like that, those go as well. What you want to be left with then, ideally, is one glorious, perfect apple, or at a push, 2 perfect apples per spur. These are the ones that have no marks on them, there's no damage, deformity, and they're the largest, okay? Now, 2 at a maximum per spur. What you also want to do is try and space it out through the tree. Give the tree a little bit of space. So if you can, have about 10 to 15 centimetres between each of the fruit and spurs, between each of the little clusters of apples. And just go through your tree, thinning it out like that. Of course, if they're healthy, not diseased, we'll put them in the compost pile. But the last thing we have to do then, so what we've done is we have tried our best to make sure this tree gives us the biggest, best apples for this year's harvest. But the stuff we do for next year's harvest actually starts in a couple of months. We're going to actually prune the tree in a very specific way that will encourage it to grow lots and lots of fruit and spurs rather than leaves. So when do we prune in summer, do you think? Or how do you know when to prune?
Because you're telling me I have to do it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, dead easy, right? That's your next job for the tree then, and if you want to do it, you can prep by watching the video where I taught Kate to do it, so that you're ready when it's time. And of course, I'll be there with you, as always. See you folks!